So the story starts in the early 80s when my parents decide to build their own house. My dad spent 7 years learning how to design and to do construction work to build a house, and they worked really hard to save enough money to do it all without going into debt. After almost a decade of saving and planning, they bought a 2-acre lot outside of town next to the river and started building. It was a family affair, but as you can see, not all of us were very helpful. 2 years later, after construction started, when the house was almost done, there was a big flood in the river. You may have heard about it as the Flood of '93. As the waters rose to historic levels, the hill that the house was built on started to slide. The foundation in the house started cracking, and it was clear they were going to have to move the house. But there were a few problems. First of all, the cost of moving the house was going to be $40,000 alone. That was equivalent to a whole year of salary at the time for my dad. Secondly, land was really scarce at the time, and my parents could hardly find anything available. So they were stuck. They couldn't watch the house that they had spent 10 years working towards crumble down the hill, but they couldn't afford to move it and couldn't find any place to move it to. It seems like an impossible situation. It was a time of big crisis. But then some amazing things started happening. Somehow people from all over the country that we didn't even know found out about the crisis my parents were going through, and they sent in money. The whole cost of moving the house was paid for through donations we didn't even ask for. My parents were able to find a small farm 10 miles from where the house was. Due to some fortuitous situations leading up to that time, my dad's parents graciously decided to buy the entire thing for my family. Looking back, it feels like the whole situation that was a disaster in the moment turned out to be a scenario for a much bigger blessing for my parents. They moved from a 2-acre lot in a subdivision to a 40-acre farm with pastures and woodlands and creeks to play in. I haven't seen my dad cry very often in my life. I'm not old enough to remember it, but I've heard that when he found out the foundation was cracking, he cried that day. I tell you this story to remind you that whatever crisis you're going through or will go through, it's probably just a big setup for your biggest comeback.